Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Good evening and welcome to the Bellows Village Trustees regular meeting. It is 6 o'clock on September 8th, 2020, and I apologize for those of you who thought from the website that it was at 5. Hopefully you're still able to zoom in, and we are down here at the Rockingham Lower Theater. Our agenda, now I'll call the meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that require ratification at a future meeting?
I have none.
Okay. I would like to add item number 8, just a brief discussion of, I'm sorry, I guess that's going to be item number 9, a brief discussion of a letter that, I don't know if all of us received a copy of it from Alex Stradling concerning the request to start a citizen committee concerning policing and safety issues in our community. That would be item number 9. Other than that, we're good. I'm sorry, I'm going to turn this on. Oops, now Chuck's coming in. Okay, approval of minutes for August 11th, regular meeting, and the September 1st, 2020 emergency meeting.
I did not receive the September 1st.
You know what? I don't think I did either. I got the August 11th. Did you get September 1? Okay,
I'll move that we accept the minutes of the August 11th meeting.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion on only the August 11th, 2020 regular meeting minutes? Right. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and we will ask that the September first ones be added to the next meeting. Now that summer is over, we are back to 2 meetings a month. Right, as if we aren't doing more meetings than that. Public comment on items not on the agenda this evening. Anyone on? No. Mr. Mitchell? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to poll the ease on the issue of the appointment of David Bellows as our police chief. I feel that process was totally flawed. We went through months and months, and I can't outrage that nothing is going to change. It's only going to get worse. I'd like to know where the trustees end on this issue.
Mr. Mitchell, the board has already had a special meeting, emergency meeting to cover that item. At this point, the board will not respond to your request. Thank you. Anything further other than that? You're all set. Okay, anyone else? It looks like we're good.
Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary's in the public. Gary, yes.
Sorry, I missed this on the agenda.
So on the agenda item, the group parade permit for use of Hetty Green Park, they withdrew that and are going to rent the waypoint for that.
Oh, so we'll be subtracting number 7. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So everybody get that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Item 7 is gone from the agenda for those out there who are watching the agenda. All right, moving on. Anyone else? Looks like we're good. All right. Moving on, item number 1 on the agenda is finances, the closing of FY20, and I realize that we did not receive that.
Yeah, so unfortunately I was sick last week, but before end of business tomorrow, you will have complete final FY20 financials, both village and town, and I'll give the trustees and the select board both the village and the town. I'm going to send them electronically, but if you'd like a printed copy, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
So I sent the FY21 updates. There's really nothing of concern right now. Everything looks really good. I sent them right through the current year to date, not August 31st. So we should be at about 20% of the budget, and for most items we are, except for insurance. That should be at 50%, and it looks like we're going to come in under. Our premiums were lowered. So, but I'm available for questions in town hall or over the phone. I know you just got them today, but when you review them.
Thank you.
Right, I was only going to say that perhaps we might want the budgets added to the next agenda on the 22nd. Wait, when is our next meeting?
22nd.
It's the 22nd, yeah. Just because we haven't seen them and we'll be seeing the FY20. If anyone wants to do that, we don't have to, but if trustees want to, just let me know.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what.
Adding it to the 22nd's agenda because we got them just today. So reviewing hasn't happened much.
Right.
If we had anything beyond what we already agreed on.
Reviewing the financials.
Right, that's all.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. The FY20 and the FY21, since we're supposed to do our business in the public, if needed. Yes, go ahead.
Just one question for Shannon.
Yep.
Can you comment at all about the tax receipts, the August tax, the first tax payment of the year was due in August, and how is that looking?
So we are doing better than we were year over year, so compared to August of last year. But I think we felt that was going to happen, so we're being cautious for the next round of tax payments.
Which is November?
Yes.
November, okay. Anything else, Jake?
I think that's something, whenever, Shannon is comfortable, giving us a report or giving us an update or, kind of a broader view as opposed to, one tax payment, it would be helpful to get a report on tax receipts.
Want a delinquent report?
Well, that might be the methodology to
Sure,
deal
I
with
can
it.
send that to you tomorrow.
Okay.
That'd be great.
And we'll just mark which people have payment plans.
Okay.
Right, that way we
Great.
know
Thank you.
that they're already basically taken care of because they have structured payments, right? Did you have anything, Wade?
I was just going to add to that, would it make sense to include the water and sewer? Or no?
Oh, that's true. How
I mean,
our
it's
water
not-
and
it
sewer
wasn't-
payments, you might be able to tell us right now how that's.
Sure. So other than the issues that we have that are outside of the norm, the Walpole and Saxons River contracts, we don't have, I think we have 5 delinquencies currently. And as you know, right now there's really no recourse because our recourse is typically to shut off the water.
And we can't do
So
it right now.
we can't do it during COVID. But we're in really, really good shape.
Terrific.
But I'll get that for you as well, though.
Moving on then, we're off to fixed asset disposition policy review. You have a copy of it in front of you. We did have a policy. The policy was signed in 2017 by a previous board. Excuse me, joint boards. Both the select town and the village are on this. And we need to review it, discuss it. I know that this is an item that Stefan specifically wanted to talk about. Maybe we want to move it to the next meeting. It's up to the trustees what they would like to do at this point.
I think you're probably right that if Stefan, if this is one of Stefan's hot
His babies, yeah.
topics. And but in reading it over, it just seemed to me that I don't have an issue with the policy. I think the question that I've heard Stefan raise is when it comes to the decision of how we're going to dispose of something. Why don't they put it up for auction or something like that? It seems to me, and it seems to me that the ultimate discretion in this policy for how it's marketed or sold is the manager. So again, I think I guess the clarification I would need, and maybe he can provide it, is it the policy that's the problem, or the way the policy was managed during the disposition of that fire truck or whatever the piece of equipment was? So
Okay. Well, I can tell you that from the number of years that I've known Stefan, that every time we sell something, there's always a concern. That's just why they did the 2017 policy. But then apparently it wasn't necessarily adhered to. As we can see, we had an item that was sitting in the pit. that didn't get sold, even though it was supposed to be sold by the by the 2 managers ago. And so he wanted to, he also thought that perhaps at least we should have better notification than we have had.
Right, but that's, and maybe that
That would
should
be
be
in the
added.
policy, right,
But I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't see anything wrong with the policy.
right. So maybe he thinks more should be added. Should we, so let's move it to the 22nd?
Okay,
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Did you
I
have something to say about
I
it?
was just gonna say, I think part of the question that he had was regarding, like, when you finally get a buyer for a piece of equipment,
Mm-hmm.
that certain cases, maybe the final okay on that should come back before the board or something. I don't, he'd have to clarify
I think
that.
that's what he wants,
I
yeah,
think
something
that was
like that.
depending on, like, dollar value and that type of thing. I believe.
So yeah, so we'll move it to the 22nd one, and Stefan said, and I already told him if we do that, will you be available? Because he's been, work's been difficult. He said yes, he'd make sure he was available for the 22nd. So moving on to the water department, develop water use and payment policy for other users. I know the town and the village doesn't have anything. I did something that I thought we could think about working on. I added just a couple paragraphs. It's just something simple. If you could pass one of these down, Jigs, to Jeff as well. It's pretty simple, and I'll just read the 2 paragraphs so everybody knows what I'm talking about. And this is just thinking about what we would develop. Water system hydrant user agreement between Bellows Falls Village Corporation and Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department. It is agreed by the parties that the Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department is hereby granted limited use of hydrants in the Bellows Falls Village Corporation water system. This reasonable supply of water shall be immediately reported to BFVC Accounting Department, billable at the same rate as users of the BFVC water system and as amended from time to time. Purpose of said water use is to fill our VFD tanker during summer months when regular access water is not of reasonable storable quality for our VFD needs. It is further agreed by the parties hereto that they shall not furnish water from the BFVC water system herein above described to any other persons, properties, or dwelling without prior consent of Bellows Falls Village Manager and written approval from same. And that's all I wrote, just as a beginning, because we don't have anything and no one has suggested anything yet. If we really want to do this, we want to be sure we're doing it right. So, thoughts from the board members?
sounds good to me.
I mean, it needs more work, clearly.
Right.
But we didn't
Yeah.
have anything for the meeting. Did you have anything, Lou?
Oh, it might be worth, and I can do it if you want, or, I mean, I don't know if the water department actually has a policy. I know they have things that relate to this, but it might just be worth getting their
Input, yeah.
input, seeing
No,
if
it's
it's
just
their
the beginning
department.
stages. We don't have anything yet. And the likelihood is this is going to be a moot point until next year. Quite possibly, because now the weather's changing, the water won't be as murky in the pond to use and wherever they take their storage from, that sort of thing. So this is an ongoing process. Again, that's probably a good idea. Let's see if we can check and see if the water department has anything that they suggest for other people who have used water sources in the past.
So I'll reach out to the water department and maybe we'll put it back on the 22nd just so we can
Yeah.
continue.
And I'll send you a copy of what I
Great.
did. Anything further on this item? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the unsafe building ordinance. Now, Chuck is sick at home, and he just sent me a couple texts on a couple of the items. Let's see, which ones? All right, not Center Street, not West Street. He said 9 Barker Street is being addressed privately. I realize that a number of these issues are also health issues and nuisance ordinance, which is covered by the town, right? So all we have on that is that. We need more report, of course. He said nothing on the Chemco building at this point. I was hoping Ray would be here. Maybe we'll need to have him another time about 66 Atkinson because other things are happening right now. We know the last thing we have is legal information that Ray sent, and
I
Yes,
can.
Shannon.
So there has been other events over the weekend, and so we are documenting them, and we are in communication with the attorney about it to move forward and take immediate action. So the manager, the fire chief, as well as our attorney, are all working on that actively right now.
Is that 66?
Yep.
Correct.
Chuck says here, I issued the NOV for 66 Atkinson. What does that mean? I don't even know.
Notice of violation?
Yes, that's,
think it
thank
is.
you very much. You're right.
I
Exactly.
believe that's what it is.
Yep. Notice of violation for 66 Atkinson. So that was issued today.
Well, stuff was going on
I
inside
know.
there today.
It was wide open today and
Yeah.
said,
Oh.
enter at your own risk.
Yeah,
Today,
so
too?
we
Today.
documented all of it,
Yep.
and
Yesterday.
we're moving forward with it.
And that building's just not getting any better. So, so that leaves us we want more information. Again, that's probably going to move to the next board meeting as well, when Chuck's feeling better. So we got some initial information, but nothing else. We're not
What-
taking any action.
The question I have, with the exception of I guess 66 Axonston Street, is what is it that we're looking for in terms of these updates?
Well, there are unsafe issues with the number of these items. We've had, some of us have received, I think you probably have too, received emails from neighbors.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
I understand that these are problem
Right.
issues here, but I think what I would like to get on a regular basis is an update as to what's
What the
happening.
disposition
You
of
know,
these is.
where do we stand in the resolution of the, that's what I know I know the neighbors want to hear that.
Yep.
And I think that Chuck has addressed his daily updates. There's been stuff in those, which, I confuse me a little bit in terms of, we like to get the owners to resolve the issue. Well, I mean,
Right.
it's like, how long do you wait for them to resolve something? But
Right.
So is this a monthly update that
You're looking for something like that, or
Oh,
quarterly
I don't know. I
maybe?
mean, I didn't put this on the agenda,
No,
but I think.
Yes, I did because of all the emails from the center, about the Center Street and the West Street properties. The Barker Street property, people complaining about that because of the fire and what's happened with it. The same thing's going on with, no one's talking about the Laurel Avenue property that had the second story burn and what's happening with that. Its disposition. I heard that there's still people going in and out of the building. I'm concerned about that. And that might be a concern case for the Barker Street place. Hopefully not. And 66 Atkinson Street, we clearly know there's some issues. These are community issues that our community members are asking us about, but we have said nothing about them for some time. And the Chemco building is still being used as a skate park because there's no fencing around it. There's no way to stop people, pedestrians, walking back and forth to get through that gate. It's a problem for the fire department if they have to get in there, or the police department, but it's not a problem for pedestrians to get into that building. So yes.
Well, now that we're back to 2 meetings a month.
Yep.
Maybe we can have one of each meeting have a rather thorough
On each
report
one.
on each property.
On one
property.
Maybe one at a time, right?
Yeah.
So,
The most, the pressing ones first, I guess, but,
right, and we wind up doing some action, taking some action, but then nothing happens for a long time, and then we don't do anything. The last thing I remember, the Chemco building is, it took forever for the letter to be received by the owner, who doesn't live in state, and then nothing. Received but no response. So I don't know what our next action would be and that would be an unsafe building ordinance issue because at this point, because there's no one living in the building.
right.
That's something. It's not residential. It's not rental. All the above.
And is that on the tax delinquency
That's the
list?
Paper Mill Road. That's
If-
where it is. Is it on the delinquent taxes? I don't remember.
I'm
It
not
was at
su-
one point, but I don't know if it is anymore.
I'm not sure I know 66 Atkinson Street
Is, yeah.
but I'm not sure I can ask.
Yeah, well, that would be, covering
you'll-
that in a monthly, if we each take
Yeah,
one a
each.
meeting, then we could get that information at the time that we address them,
Okay.
so if we do it that way, then we can knock these off in like, I don't know, 6 meetings. Okay, anything further on these properties?
No, you covered the Kemco one, that's what I was,
Yep, it's been, we started something and it just lagged, nothing happened after so long. It's still the same.
Yeah, we are applying fees daily.
Mm-hmm. So all we have is liens.
Correct.
And there was some comment last meeting, and someone said it again, that they thought the 66 Atkinson Street had been sold. I even because of that, I contacted the clerk today. She hasn't received anything.
I have no knowledge of that.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so next on the agenda would be the town-village agreements, which would go to Gary.
What about,
I'm sorry. Was there something I missed?
why don't you sit there, Garrett?
I don't
The mic's
think
right there.
the further discussion of Herrick Cove?
That's where we are now.
That's second. That's Gary's first on the track.
Oh, there's one before that.
Yes, the pump truck.
Yeah, so the town leases from you the property where the Rockingham Recreation Area is, and in January approved an application for trails marketing and a pump track where the kiosk to the Oak Hill Trails is at the bottom of the ski tow. And the lease from the village to the town specifies that for any construction on the property, written consent is required from the lessor, which is you folks. So basically, the pump track is in some overgrown land between the community garden and the ball field. It's unused, it's high weeds. It would be cleared. A designer, a trail builder, would build the pump track and be excavated appropriately with the culvert for the intermittent stream that runs through it. And there's a sample motion if it's your pleasure to approve that request.
Do we want to get the motion on the floor? Or and then discuss it, or what do you want to do?
Why don't you put it on the floor?
Okay. As required, and wait, where's the motion?
So the motion
That's
is
not
in the
motion.
memo in the packet, sorry.
But we didn't print it. So could you read us the motion?
Yes, I do have that. The motion would be to authorize signing a written notice consenting to construction of a pump track at the Rockingham Recreation Area between the community garden and the baseball field.
Okay, you want to move that? I don't hear anybody.
I'll move it.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, so now discussion.
Is the agreement clear as to holding the village harmless with regards to any kind of liability arising from the lease?
Well, it stipulates the lessee is responsible for all maintenance costs. Let's see, tree removal, managed forest land.
I was trying to think, this agreement has been in place for 10 years. It has another 10 years to run, the 20-year agreement. And there should already be a hold harmless because of what's already been going on there.
Yeah,
And
so-
if there isn't one, that's interesting.
So item number 9, the town of Rockingham as lessee shall at its own expense and at all times during the term of this lease maintain and enforce a policy or policies of insurance which will insure the lessor against liability for injury to persons or property in an amount not less than $1 million, and shall hold the lessor harmless from any claims, and indemnify the Bellows Falls Village Corporation for all costs arising out of or in connection with any claims, including but not limited to all costs of defense.
So
Pretty
that was
thorough.
what you wanted to hear. I did see that. I didn't remember what section it was in, so. I'm sorry, yes, sir?
Excuse me. If I could speak directly to Mr. Fox. Let me use the mic.
Yeah. You need
Well,
to-
actually, I've got a pretty
No.
loud voice. I can't get
No,
this mic.
it won't record. It won't record. A lot of
Make
people
sure
think
it's
that.
on, Cass.
There you go.
And it is now. Gary, did I hear you mention tree removal?
No. Brush.
Brush,
There's tall weeds and brush. I don't believe there's any trees.
Okay, I
but
didn't
we-
think there was either, but I thought, sure, I heard the phrase tree removal.
That was in the
brush.
agreement.
Brush? Okay.
The,
Yeah.
the agreement does refer to things like tree removal, but this proposal does not require any tree removal.
Okay, all right. That was my single leap to attention.
If there was, we certainly would go to the tree committee with any
There is no tree
request for
committee.
that.
There's only the tree warden.
The tree warden then, certainly.
And he's at 289-7327. Thank you.
Board members, anything further on the track? How do we
Yeah,
feel about
yeah, I
that?
got so how'd this pump track come about? How did
So-
that surface?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So starting about 2 years ago, the Windham County Trails Alliance approached the select board in the village about land agreements, liability agreements, to be responsible for maintenance of trails that were built maybe 15 years ago by the Youth Conservation Corps and expand those trails. And they're very steep up on Oak Hill and perfect mountain biking trails. And so the cross-sectional group, which is made up of the Bald Hill Trails group, the Bellows Falls Riverfront Scenic Park and Trail System, the Windham County Trails Alliance, the Bellows Falls Community Bike Project, the Rockingham Recreation Committee. Ryan is on it, the Development Office, I'm on it. We're talking about the development of these trails and how they could produce economic development for the town. And so part of it is with trail guides and instruction for safely being able to ride on steep trails with trees and rocks, and a pump track. It's like if you've ever seen a dirt bike racing, it's a mini version of that. And it's an opportunity to teach mountain biking skills without running into trees, so to speak. So, in terms of recreation programs, let's see. I forget the gentleman's name, but the phys ed teacher from Central Elementary also participated, Peter Lawton. And so pump tracks for recreation, why it especially fits at the recreation center in addition to the trails, the Oak Hill Trails, is elementary school children use it with radio-controlled cars. Middle schoolers, BMX bikes. High schoolers starting to train on mountain bike skills. So there's the school groups and the rec department and the bike project. We're all talking about programs with our youth for having this resource for training in all aspects of the outdoor trails resources we have, and encouraging that type of healthy activity. There's something called the Behavioral Youth Assessment Survey that the middle schoolers and high schoolers get around the state. And they look at risky behavior when people start using smoking cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol, and also what types of activity they like to do that are healthy. And so from middle school to high school is when there was the biggest jump. in our town for risky behavior. And also the highest percentage of people said that what they, the healthy activities like to do were outdoors, and the number of days of outdoor activity for a tremendous percentage of the kids, way above the state average, was outdoor activities, biking, that sort of thing. So it seemed like a good fit for our community. And that's how, and other communities have used pump tracks that some of the committee members went and checked out how they were working in the community. I think Bennington was one. So that's sort of how it came about.
Yeah, my only other thought would be to make sure that, and I know it's down the road a ways, but that it's has plenty of clearance to the ball field. You know, between the little league field.
It does, yes. So it's
Like it's not right tight to it.
yes, yeah. It's a ways away, and it's not in the direction that balls are hit towards. It's foul territory, way to past third base, way to the north of third base.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Anything further? Okay, so we have the motion on the floor, and any additional comments? All right.
Yes, Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, I'm just curious, as far as the trails go, if a tree comes down, wind across the trail, who patrols the trails and who will remove that tree? So that somebody on a dirt bike can go slamming into the tree.
Can I respond?
Gary, do you want to respond? Yep.
Yeah, so the Wyndham County Trail Alliance, who do this kind of work, that's the business they're in, they have a maintenance agreement for the trails with the town for all of the trails in the on the Rockingham Recreation Area.
Okay, good. So there's someone maintaining it. All right. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion's passed, and I have the document here from Gary. I'll sign and pass it along. Don't mind if
Thank you very much.
because you're on that end of the table.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Okay. I'll take care of that. All right. Now, I'm not sure how far we're going to get on this next item, which is further discussion on the Herrick's Cove Agreement to be developed with the town of Rockingham. So it is it would be a town agreement. Is this something we would prefer to wait until we have a next joint board meeting to do? Although it ends, when is it? Did it end the end of August? Or are we still doing it? I'm trying to remember. It was just for summer months, I thought.
It's
so.
done now.
It's done now, so it won't be until next year. So we're not really in a rush, so we could wait till the next joint board meeting for this, unless someone has a burning
So they're not doing it
comment.
now?
Right. Currently, they're not. They won't be doing it again till next summer.
Right, we start in June.
Okay.
So just a clarification, I guess the issue is that there's an informal agreement in place currently, but not a formal agreement. Is that?
There's no written agreement, right?
There's no written.
So, what we have is the town agreed to pay Bellows Falls to do a outside detail, and the police department has the right to, for time and a half, to do outside details like Governor's Highway. So the village, the police were treating it like that, and the town was just paying it, and it was a motion, and it was approved by the select board.
Okay. So it's an informal one, and this would have nothing to do with Great River Hydro or anything like that. It would simply be between the town and the village, so we could formalize it.
Yeah, I don't have a
expect
problem
it.
with formalizing it. I
Okay.
think
And we have to be determined on our next joint board meeting anyway, when the next 5th Tuesday comes up in the month. That would be an appropriate place to put it at that point. That's
I
something
hope
I
it's
need-
not
need to put
September
it.
29th.
What's that?
I hope
Yeah, it would be September.
That's too
It's
soon.
September 29th? Oh my God, we're so full of meetings. September
Well,
29.
this isn't a rush item, so
It isn't.
Right.
let's not,
We could not add it and,
Let's
and
not
try to
aggravate.
remember to do it in the spring or something, you know?
we've been having several joint meetings here. so-
And we're not done yet.
No.
So we need to do it in the
So we
spring.
could do a joint meeting December 29th.
We, if we're going to put it off, we might as well wait until the spring of 2021.
Okay. So we'll just
I made a
table this
note,
for
but
right
God knows if
now.
I'll remember it. By then.
Got to throw it on that calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
Google Calendar.
Let's see. Then our next item on the agenda is reporting standards. It was put that way in order to, because we had concerns about police call logs and how they were formatted, our ability to get prioritized types of calls that would make more sense to us than every single traffic call. We have them in the email, but we do not have a printed list. We got those September 1st, 2 different variations, which I don't believe we've all had a chance to study and decide what we would like. And we didn't get any fire call logs at all. Shannon.
So the fire chief has been out. So what our thought process was, and you received the overtime with this payroll in a new way. So the police and the fire logs are done monthly. So instead of it being necessarily an agenda item or anything like that, and same with overtime and comp. So I process payroll and I immediately send you those reports. So anything that has overtime, you are seeing in real time, because by the time you're getting it, it's almost 45 days later, and the managers are having to go back and dig through these. So what we were thinking is just sending it all in real time. So regardless of when your meeting is, the police, once you can work out a format with Renee that you like, she'll just send it to the trustees. Sean, as soon as his fire reports are done, he'll just shoot them off in an email, and I will do it every payroll with a description for every hour of overtime in each department.
So did the overtime and comp reports wind up in the folders?
Nope, I just sent
Just when you sent it on an email?
in an email and let you know what the overtime for that specific payroll was.
Okay. So it's every 2 weeks, right? So what is the board? what's
That
the board
sounds good to
comment?
me. Sounds good to me. That way,
Do you want then a quarterly though, or anything like that?
no, I think for the police and fire logs, monthly is fine. And monthly's okay with overtime, but if it's easier to just do it each payroll, what the heck?
I think it's easier, and then if you have questions
Then we can bring 'em up at
you
the
can email the department head right back, and they can answer
opposed-
because they just finished that pay period.
Close to a whole month after they've gone through
Yeah.
the pay period.
Right, no, I like that. It doesn't need to take up time in the meeting
Exactly.
unless somebody's got a question that they want to raise.
Wade?
That was my next question, so it won't be on the agenda?
So it won't wind up being, so that would indicate that it would not be on the first meeting of each month, right? Which is usually where it would sit. It typically is at the end, which would be police logs, fire logs, and overtime and comp report. So it'll wind up being an item which someone could bring up at the beginning of the meeting if they had a question,
Right,
or they hadn't gotten answered and they just wanted to see where we go. Most of the time, we're gonna see that as we roll forward in our budget. So those reports are just numbers that we can reference.
But I think it's more meaningful to get a statement from the department head with what it actually is.
Current report,
yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
So then, I think the fire logs, you guys are fine with the format, if I'm correct.
Yes.
It's always a short list anyway.
And it's a short list, so the chief will just email you those as soon as he finishes, and then same with police logs. And then if something comes up and you'd like to add it to an agenda to specifically talk about too, you'll have time to do that, because you would receive them
Yeah.
beginning of the month.
However, what we haven't done on this item on the agenda is we haven't decided which version we like best
For the police?
for the police. So we're fine with fire, and we're fine with what you're going to do with overtime and comp. That'll make it much easier for everybody involved. But the police call logs, we probably need to put that on the next meeting, because we're going to have to say, do we want one of these or the other, or we're still not happy?
I think I would like to get a shorter version with the more critical calls. And obviously, anything related to drug activity. But I don't want to create an administrative nightmare, you know, so I think the way I thought the way we had left it was that to see what the department, what the chief and the dispatcher could come up with as a subset of the full report that would address those more
Critical items?
critical items. So if without reproducing the wheel. So,
Yeah, so if I may, if we put it on the next meeting, I can get in touch with Chief Bemis and maybe he can present something to you
Yeah.
that
that'd
for
be
the
good.
22nd.
Mhm.
Yep, that would be good. Okay, great. So that will be the next meeting, and we're good with fire logs, but we have call logs we didn't see in this month. So maybe 2 reports next month. Maybe the 22nd, Sean could be able to present the.
You'll have him in your emails before you get home tonight.
All right.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Mitchell?
yes, what's wrong with the police and on their website, daily arrest, but mugshot, so we know who are doing these crimes, put them right on their Facebook page. That's one way of getting word out to the community. It's nice that you get all the stats. We don't know how many calls they do in a course of a day. It's a very simple thing for them to do. And in one day, post the calls on their website. How simple is that?
Well, that would be something to address with Chief Bemis, and as I recall, there's supposed to be a blog, which most people, and I guess I'll say it now that I've entered into it, most people who signed up for the blog are not getting the blog. And there's been
Yes,
complaints
but
about not getting the
I'm
blog.
getting it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll
All right, Mr.
address
Mitchell,
that as
that's
well.
a minute. We need to address that. It was something we need to speak to Chief Bemis about why it's not coming out like it's supposed to. So we will. I'll make an.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the police department. Moving forward, discussion of non-response to citizen calls to police department. We've had quite a few of those of late. I guess one just happened last week, at least one person who contacted someone else, not me, another citizen, another trustee, said that they had called the police, but no one showed up. So again, they're having BB incidents on incidences going on in their community, in their part of our village, and they are not being responded to. I was hoping that Chief Bemis would be here so we could address that. Yeah.
His mother
Oh,
fell
that's right.
ill and is hospitalized. He was intending on coming, but her situation is not stable at the moment. I can address it slightly. They are doing everything in their power to reduce overtime and staffing, and as such, we sometimes get 3 or 4 calls right now, and we don't always have 2 officers on. And that's, that was a risk we took in reducing the budget and staffing of the police department.
Okay, I mean, this would probably be an item for next meeting and
Yeah.
possibly on the 22nd.
Sure.
Things might be better for Chief Bemis.
We had, 1 police officer on and had over 5 calls come in and couldn't respond to 2 domestics at once. And these are the issues we will face with a reduced police force.
That's right.
Right, well, we are down to 5 full-time officers now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we budgeted for 6.
I think the one item I'd mention is that I can understand how there could be multiple calls at one time and there's not enough people there to deal with each call. What I don't understand is why there would never be a response. It would seem as though,
I think that's inaccurate.
okay, I think that
Because once new police officers come on, they have a log of everything that's come through to dispatch, and it's given to them to follow up.
So there is a process to have them follow up,
Absolutely.
yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think the what would concern me is that if, you know, if a call came in and they said, well, I just didn't get to it, I'm not going to bother with it. I think that's the more critical item for me.
Yeah, it just may not be as timely because when the new shift officer comes on, they're already having calls they need to attend immediately. So,
No, that's understandable.
Well, I do think it's something we should address at the next meeting. The incidents that I've heard about have to do with not showing up for hours and hours and not the next day or the next week.
yeah, unfortunately, some of the issues we're running into is if you have a domestic or a DUI or something of that nature, in order for the individual to be released on conditions, the police officers have to go back and immediately fill out paperwork to give to the court, and that's not negotiable, or those individuals cannot be released because the judge needs the paperwork. And so it's just a trickling effect when you have a police officer who's just on call after call after call after call, and then they show up for their next shift and they have to just do that paperwork. And they've been short-staffed for a while now, but what we are seeing, you know, it's putting a lot of stress on them. We had 2 domestics at the same time the other day, and they had to, you know, they responded to the first one and they couldn't get to the second one.
So here's a question. Do we have mutual aid as far as the police department is concerned?
We do, and for those incidents, you know, they come when they can because they are also staffed the way they're staffed.
What about the state police and the sheriff? I mean, if anything happens in all these towns around us that don't have police coverage, they call the state police. I mean,
And we do, if we need backup, and we do, but it can sometimes, it's a long response time. And what happens is for incidents that aren't as big and or don't need an officer immediately because they have to prioritize, sometimes to get their paperwork done and respond to the calls that are coming in currently, it is taking a couple of days to go investigate. I'm just going to throw something out there, you know, like somebody shooting a BB gun at signs, right? And they're doing the best they can and prioritizing.
Right.
But
the other thing too is we do have another officer in the budget, so I think
Right, that's why we budgeted for 6. We only
you
have
know,
5.
We have 5 now, and I think, you know, I certainly think that we should be actively,
so we are.
okay, all right.
We absolutely are. We just did an oral board for part-time police officers too. The reason we needed to wait was to see who was
No, I
going to
understand
be
that.
chief. So it really, until last week, we couldn't move forward.
No, but you are moving forward now.
Correct,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good.
Okay. All right, so yeah, so perhaps next meeting, Chief Beams could be attend, if possible. So we have taken out number 7, since they have moved from the Hetty Green Park for the parade permit. Number 8 is the rental housing ordinance update. That item would have been handled by Chuck if he was here. I'm not sure if there's any update. I was wanting to know what groups and organizations he had gotten involved in reviewing, getting feedback from. That's kind of where we were. Did you get anything from him?
I did not know.
Okay. So we don't have anything on that. That'll have to move too, to the next meeting.
Is that one that needs to be finalized, or is it?
That's
Is
the one
it-
that hasn't had a public hearing yet.
Okay, yeah.
Going
Right.
through the process.
Going through the process. It's going through the process, right. So nothing, we haven't, this is just for the village. It's for village rental housing. And hasn't gone through, it just started. Trying to find organizations who are interested in reviewing it and giving them feedback from different walks of life and that sort of thing, and then scheduling it to come back to us after feedback, and then a public hearing.
Do you know if
Which
there's
we
a
have to
reason
run.
why it hasn't gone to town when we think about like Saxon's River?
You would ask Chuck about that. Based upon the majority of apartment housing is here in the village,
Right, I just know that
with
there's
very
some.
little of it in the external area, right? And that was the purpose. I mean, at some point, if we can get it passed through the village, it would make sense to go to the town, as they would need one. Because right now, we have the nuisance ordinance, which covers the whole town, as opposed to being village separate.
Sure.
Right.
So that moves on. Maybe by the next meeting, there'll be more information too. Number 9 on the agenda is Alex Stradling's proposal. And did you send that to all of us or just to me?
No, I got it.
Okay, we all got it.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
can't remember from when it came out.
Right.
Great. So that is a discussion that he would like to have us start a citizen committee. I don't know if it's necessarily something we need to do, but the citizens committee to cover safety and public safety and policing. So discussion. That's what it's here for.
I have some thoughts. One of the things that came through in the police chief search process and the vetting of the candidates was the doing a better job of implementing community policing here in our village. And I would think that Alex's suggestion is premature at this point. I think what needs to happen first is that now that we have a police chief, I think working with the manager and this board, I think we need to establish some goals or priorities. I know just during our discussion a minute ago, the Facebook came up relative to the police department. I think, one of the things that that came up during our discussions, Jeff was there as well, was having a more social media presence. That I know we've got a Facebook page or something like that, but I don't think it gets any attention. I think clearly, just as one little example, a social media presence is something that is typical now in society, not typical here. But I think that the methodology for having these discussions could be in an open session, I would think, and certainly encouraging community input. But I think that would be a good launching point for the possibility of moving in that direction down the line, type of thing. Clearly, many of the candidates, when they were pressed about different issues, policing issues, reminded us of what the role of policing is and what they can do and they can't do. And I think that a lot of the things that I would like to see with regards to the drug issue or selling drugs in our community, the police are very limited in what they can do. So it really is going to take a community effort with obviously with the police having a critical role in that effort to address some of these problems. But I think that's where we should start. We've got a new chief, and we need to begin a dialogue with him and the manager. And I stress the manager because obviously the police chief works for the manager. So that's what I'd like to see happen. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Does anyone else have input? Go ahead, Jeff.
I will. I guess I want to thank Alex for, bringing this forward, and I think that having a community voice in a committee is a great idea. I think that it can happen. I don't necessarily think that it's premature. I think those ideas can be formulated and brought to the trustees or to the chief, you know, having a collective voice from the community of concerned citizens is a desirable thing. And I think that if we work together and that's brought forward with the spirit of helping shape the direction of the future of policing in the village, rather than something that happens, you know, from the top down, it's, you know, all of us together. So that would be sort of my 2 cents.
Thank you. Wade, did you have anything on that?
Yeah, my only thought was I think it's a good idea. I don't think it can hurt. Hopefully, only something positive could come from it. I do think it maybe because we just did bring on a new chief that as part of our expectations that we've talked about establishing or at least prioritizing, that when we cross that bridge, hopefully soon, with the new chief, that can be one of the things that we discuss on the list with them and hopefully bring it into play at some point, again, you know, sooner than later. I just think down the road, I mean, even if we do bits and pieces of that, it's certainly worth trying. I don't, you know, I just think it needs to be organized through the chief and make that part of the clear expectations that we've talked about establishing at some point.
Okay. Well, from my perspective, I don't really think that that citizens need to get our permission to form a citizen committee. For several years, we have brought forth at different times to the police chief, whoever's ever in place at that time, to start a neighborhood watch because there were concerns by community members that they did not feel safe. And we were rebuffed each time and told we don't need that. The citizens come forward when they need to. And yet, over the years, I've heard more and more concerns from neighbors or neighborhoods that they're not having their expectations met. So, here's what my thoughts are. Citizens can start their own committee. There isn't any reason why you can't. An ad hoc committee is up to you. You can form that. You can ask for, having us being present would cause a meeting problem. But you can ask for feedback. You can ask for input. You can put it out there. You have the means and the media to do that, and see what they want, what their expectations of our police department are. As taxpayers, they have a right to ask these things as well, and they have a right to ask them in a public forum, so they could bring that material could be addressed to us at some point when that's available, when that's formulated into something solid that you can say, okay, we expect these things. This is what we want to see out of our community policing department. I understand that you believe it's premature. I understand you think it might not be, and they need a voice. And I believe they absolutely need a voice, and they've needed one for some time. Our police department hasn't really changed. We have the same personnel pretty much as we did prior. And citizens not feeling that their concerns are met have every right to form a committee and to ask us to address those things. And again, because I was also an advocate of a neighborhood watch, which we didn't do either some years ago and a few years later when the same thing was asked. So I believe that we would be better off if a citizen committee did form itself and then asked to be put on an agenda as an agenda item, and then we address it at that point and move forward from there. As time will still be needed, no matter what. So you understand what I'm saying, Alex, right? Yeah, you know what to do.
Yeah, no, I posed this question because I would like, I mean, it seems like over the years, last 10 years since I've moved back here, I mean, there's always been an issue, something with policing, and it always seems like there's putting out fires rather than, taking proactive steps. I've never seen a police chief come to the board and offer a 3 or 5 year plan about what their vision for policing is. It's always been at town meeting, and they're always responding to complaints. So Mr. McAuliffe he was part of the search committee, so he was able to describe what maybe Bemis's thoughts in terms of policing. That would be nice for, at least, the police chief to be able to communicate to the public, what his vision is for the budget that's set. And not something that's just responding to, responding to complaints that happen during the annual meeting, but, hey, I'm the police chief and this is what our vision for the future is. So at least there's some clear communication and people understand, what's going on. I agree. Maybe it is a little premature, but maybe proactive steps of maybe initiating a hearing where it's specifically devoted to people coming in and the trustees and the police chief, just for one day out of the year, listening to the concerns and just keeping the meeting, a positive one. Meaning, you're not going to just say this officer did this and this officer did that, but keep it to like, hey, these are some problems that we're seeing, and not pointing fingers, but so everyone feels included and there isn't this us versus them mentality. I mean, the police have a rough job, I feel, and if we can foster less us versus them, maybe when you work on a job you don't really like, or you're going to take advantage of that. So transparency, and how do officers get promoted in our town? What do they view as how does that, and then what is the process internally, and how, if there's a bad apple in terms of officers, abusing, the badge or their position, how is that dealt with? Is that dealt with effectively, or are there systems in place that are stopping us from, effectively, getting rid of, bad apples, or, mitigating that? I mean, these are all questions that you may know the answer to, because but those are questions that I would like to know as a resident, is like how, maybe from the police chief, or, maybe there does need to be a review, like, how are these issues being addressed? I do think a community hearing where people can just come and communicate, a positive vision forward in terms of policing, would not only benefit the chief, but then they can also get feedback later, from the police chief and the town manager and the village manager about where they see policing is going, But I think proactive steps, and rather than putting out fires, I think would probably be the best approach. And that's all I was asking, to open up discussion, continuously talk about it, and see where we can go from there. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your response.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay, so I think we've addressed it at this point.
I do hope,
Wait, please, point of order.
I do hope we'll, at a, either, maybe the second meeting next month, that we have a session where the trustees are specifically talking with the chief about expectations. I just think that that's very important early on to have that session. We'll do it in public session. I think the focus needs to be the trustees initially, but we certainly want the public to listen in and participate to some extent. But I think that this is an opportunity for us to get, I think, a better understanding, and for the chief to get a better understanding of what our expectations are.
So you're suggesting the second meeting in October?
Yes.
That's not
If we can keep the rest of the agenda
light.
yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
So we would need to, or there won't be room. So
That would be the 20th,
the 20th,
would be the second Tuesday.
second Tuesday, okay. Basically the
But you guys want your second
first
meeting, right?
Our second meeting. So the first Tuesday is the select board, then us, then two more.
So the
weeks.
4th.
13th, 27th then.
Yeah, the
Okay,
27th.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So it's 13 and 27 of October?
Ours is the 13th and the 27th, so the second one would be the 27th. And it's 7:03, so I was hoping that
Ray is 3 minutes out.
3 minutes out. Okay,
So by the time we finish the,
okay, so yes, before we get to, we will be having an executive session. Mr. Mitchell, you had something, don't want to forget you.
If I heard Jim right, he said that there's not much that the police can do about the drug problem. Actually, there is. They should request that the DEA come in there, they go into the archives and look at all the purchase road of drugs that they've been cutting and start doing something about it. They're 52 weeks to a year. One drug dealer a week, and you'll make a big dent in this town. As far as citizens go, it's citizens that are demanding action in other communities. But here, we want to create this layer to shield the bad conduct. Let's face it, we have a man who has a new title, and he's been here for 20 years. He's part of the problem. And
All right,
we
Mr.
really could settle with a bag of,
Thank you, nope, thank you. Thank you for stopping short of that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, I think, making sure, moving on. We won't be reviewing the police and fire call logs. We already addressed that. Review agenda items for next meeting of September 22nd.
have.
There's quite a few.
We need to send you out the minutes from September 1st.
Right,
Review of financials year-to-date and closing of FY20.
right.
Fixed asset policy review.
We'll be on the next one, yep.
Develop of the water use policy. We're going to get input from the water department.
Right.
The unsafe buildings we'll put back on.
Actually, if we're going to do that, should we do it the way Jiggs is mentioning it?
That's how I have it here. Update on each of the unsafe buildings for the
So
public.
Chuck can pick
But
one of them.
Pick one,
He's saying, like,
for like a,
Pick one.
Pick the
Yeah.
big problem first.
The big one.
pick the big one, yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, though, there'll be some additional movement on 66
Yeah,
Atkinson Street.
obviously,
too,
if
yeah.
there's a sidebar on a
Yep.
couple of the others, that's
That's fine,
fine. But I
but
think a
the
real
Main one
focus,
should be one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
The worst one to start.
Then we'll have the chief in here to discuss police call log format. Hopefully have something for you guys to look at. Police non-response to citizens, you can discuss that in the
Right.
next meeting with the chief. And then the rental housing ordinance I have for Chuck.
Okay.
Items for the October meeting, the expectations of the chief of police. And then the joint meeting, which is undetermined, would be in the spring, which will be the formal
yeah.
Herrick's Cove agreement.
Yep, yep. Yeah, because I don't know, what do we have on the joint board meeting for the 29th of September?
I'm not aware of anything yet.
Not yet, so I'm just gonna write down here that it is September 29. Yes, yes, the 5th Tuesday in the month. Okay, review orders, bills, and warrants. They're all here. I believe everyone here has
I'll
signed
move
them.
approval.
I'll second that.
Okay. There's any discussion over the orders, bills, and warrants? All right. Oh, I did have one. Did you push those, Evan? You know how you paid the Westminster taxes?
Yes.
According to what I saw, you paid them both in the town, even the village's portion.
Well, the town pays both.
They do pay both? They don't go
Yeah.
to us
No.
specifically? Okay.
Nope, just the town.
All right, just wanted to be sure. That was it? Okay, that was it. That was my only thing. All right. Excuse me. And the motion in mind, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. So that's that. And have you signed that too?
I haven't yet.
Okay. So I'm gonna put these here because Shannon will need these back. And let me see. Other business.
I do.
Yes.
I just want to remind everyone that we have face masks at the town hall, and you can come and get them at the finance department, and we have a lot. So they also have them down at the fire and police station as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Jeff. Jiggs.
Are you going to comment on the manager search, or?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Sure.
No, I'm good.
So negative. Okay, so we have whittled the manager search down to 2 candidates. We will be having them in soon to have a face-to-face conversation with department heads and with us as well. I'm not going to give you the date on that because that would be inappropriate. And we are moving along, I think, rather swiftly. Hopefully, that's a good thing. And oh, let's see, there will be, this Friday, September 11th, there will be the firefighter spin race, raising money for the firefighter park, Memorial Park that we have, and the project that's been ongoing. The sort of, for us finally to have something like a square in the village of Bellows Falls would be great. I think other than that, school started. Be safe, people. Don't run anybody over. Try to help your kids keep their masks on when they're in class so no one gets sick. Wade.
I don't have anything. No, I'm good.
Okay. So we do have an executive session, and the purpose is not on there, so where'd it go? Which one is it? Yeah, if you would be so kind. We need to do 2 motions, and it has to be number 10. If you can make that work.
First motion, I move to find that premature general public knowledge of state for grievances other than tax grievances. You said number 10?
10, yeah.
Okay.
That's right. You're correct.
Will clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage. I guess that's it.
That's it. Need a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now please read the second one.
I move that the board enter executive session to discuss the grievances or other tax grievances, which will clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage.
Is there a statute you need to quote there?
Title 1, Section 313A1
There we go.
of the Vermont statutes,
And you want to invite in?
And I'm sorry, and we need to invite in Ray Masuko.
to include the village attorney, Ray Masuko.
Need a second on that, please.
Second.
Okay. Jeff seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now in executive session. Thank you, folks, for coming by Zoom.